It's time for Lumberjacks now.
Lumberjacks is sponsored by Echo, only professional grade with 5-year warranty. Crown, protect, maintain, save. Dickies, quality workwear since 1922. Yamaha, rev your heart.
We're here in Campbell River, British Columbia, the Dockside Marina, and one of the best places to have lunch in Campbell River, the Dockside Fish and Chips. Not only that, it's the Campbell River Salmon Festival and the 50th annual Logger Sports Competition. Hi, I'm Bill D with my co-host Lumberjack sport analyst Rod Cumberland. And Rod, 50 years of any event is a feat in itself.
And guys like Dave McLeod and Jim Lilburn are fellows that work tirelessly at this sport and this event to make sure it happens year in and year out.
Now, a couple of events we're covering this week is the women's single buck. We have some people out here that don't normally come out to BC to compete. They're coming for part of the prize money, I guess.
$45,000 drew lights of Nancy Zalowski and, of course, Erin Lavoie, hometown favorite Allison Briscoe. That's going to be a tough one to call, but those three will be at the top of the heap in the women's single buck.
Another event kind of unique to Campbell River Salmon Festival is the men's relay. It's a couple of chopping events, the standing block and the underhand chop.
One chopper starts out, chops halfway through the log, then, of course, when they switch to the second side, another chopper jumps in and finishes the block. That happens in the standing block and underhand. We've got Mitch Hewitt here. We have Jason Lentz from way down in West Virginia. He's come the whole way out here. There's some great choppers, but they're all mixed up in their pairs, so it's hard to call that one.
Well, Campbell River is a beautiful coastal city in British Columbia on the east coast of Vancouver Island at the south end of Discovery Passage. The city claims a population of over 35,000 people and has long been touted as the salmon capital of the world. It's the 7th time out here for Lumberjacks television series, and I'm here with our television analyst, Dave Jewett. We're going to get started with the log burling. Before the competition, all the competitors were seeded into the championship round with Brian Bartow and Mike Boyko seeded 1 and 2 respectively, and both of them getting buys into the semifinal. Also in the quarterfinal round, Erin Lavoie took out Derek Pouchnick, and Kenji Boyko bested his Aunt Brenda to also advance to the semis. In the semifinal round, Brian Bartow then took out Erin Lavoie, and in the Battle of Boykos, Kenji, in a great battle, took down his father Mike and advanced to the championship final. In the consolation round, the women took control. Erin Lavoie beat Mike Boyko, while Brenda Pouchnick outlasted her husband Derek, which leaves us with Brenda taking on Erin for 3rd and 4th place in the semifinal action. And in this battle for 3rd and 4th place, we're going to see them on 14-inch logs. And you know, Dave, they didn't get started on these 14-inch logs.
Well, thanks for having me, Bill. You're right. They started on a 15-inch Western Red cedar log. They expired the 2 minutes. Now they're down to the 14-inch. The problem, it sinks more. It's not as buoyant. It's going to be a faster log. And if they keep going, they could get to the 12-inch Little Dynamite, which is very fast.
And it tends to make the heats a lot shorter as well. You really got to focus and pay attention because these logs are going to spin a lot more, smaller diameter. And Brenda is down in the first heat. Best 2 out of 3. What did Brenda do wrong here? What did Erin do right?
Well, Erin ran her off the log. This is a bucking match. So they're looking over opposite shoulders. Now Erin can see that she's got her backpedaling right there, and Erin's gonna give her the kick. And that's just a strategic move right there. As soon as you start backpedaling and your heels stop moving, you're in trouble.
And this is the one Lumberjack sport event where you've got to watch your competitor. You can't worry about stopwatches or anything like that. You can see they're trained on each other's feet here as they're tapping their logs, and they can spin it both ways, backwards, forward. It's a real tactical maneuver.
Right, the feet have to keep moving. Usually they have a coach on the sidelines telling them, keep your feet moving, stay on your heels. See Erin, she's staying on the heels. The heels are checking the log. The toes can accelerate the log, but you have to get back on the heels.
Now just talk to me a little bit of strength here. What does strength come into play here? Because both these women look about the same size here, but you got to be able to control that log, stop and start at a moment's notice.
You're right, the strengths are even here, so it's all strategy, and there she goes. Erin gets run off the log right there, so now it's a 1-1 match. So now with only one heat to go, Erin has to think, do I just wait out Brenda, or do I try to kick her off like she did in the first heat?
Well, you can see Brenda taking advantage of Erin, slowing down there a little bit. She snapped her heels there and just snapped Erin right off the log while Erin's feet stopped moving.
Well, Bill, from a spectator's point of view, it may look like their feet never stop moving, but if they stop for a half second, that log is moving, and they will not be able to catch up.
And this battle for third and fourth place between these two excellent log rollers, the heats are very, very quick. Small diameter log, and there it is. Erin Lavoie takes down Brenda Pauschik for third place in the log rolling. Fantastic log rollers. These women actually logged for about 5 or 6 minutes as they went down to the 14-inch log.
Right there, and you see both competitors having perfect technique. It's just the long steps of Brenda. They need to be short steps. You need to abbreviate those steps, and that's where Erin got the win. Brenda just lengthened those steps, and that's all it took.
Well, we're now heading into the championship final featuring the aged veteran in log burling and pole climbing, Brian Bartow, now living in Squamish, British Columbia, taking on young up-and-comer Kenji Boyko, part of the Boyko family from Port Alberni, British Columbia.
Now, don't think that Kenji's out of this just because he's a smaller competitor. His side of the log is not going to sink as much. He can stay on that log easier. Brian's log is still, it's sinking more, he's in the water more, but he will outpower Kenji.
He's able to put on the brakes a little bit more, and there he is, bucks off Kenji in the first heat, taking a 1-0 lead in his best 2 out of 3 final in the championship round here in Campbell River. What does Kenji do wrong here?
Well, right now, he's got Kenji backpedaling, and he just gives him that kick. He sees that Kenji's in trouble, and a skilled competitor can control that log and says, okay, now's the time I've got to kick it.
It looks like Brian just put on the brakes there, and Kenji just didn't stop the momentum and fell backwards.
Okay, now that's a no time right now, by the way. The judge has to say time in. He watches both competitors, says both competitors are in control. He'll blow the whistle, time in. But right now he said, nope, no, I'm going to let that one go. Neither one were in control.
So they didn't really even get started. So that's still 1-0 for Brian as we head into heat number 2 here.
Yeah, that's a great call, by the way, to the head judge. A lot of pressure on the head judge to make the right calls.
And they don't have the advantage of the television replay like we have. Here we go into heat number 2. Kenji a little bit off balance there as Brian's trying to throw him off for a 2-0 victory. But Kenji's hanging in there, and Brian slips off the back of the log.
And you know what I saw? Watch Brian's left foot. He goes off. See, the log's all tore up right now. He's going to be getting grip in there. And his back foot, his left foot, it goes way off to the left, and he could have hit a hard knot right there. Those spikes, I don't care how sharp they are, they will not dig into a knot, and he slipped right off.
So basically he fell out of the channel there, the log burling channel where all the spike marks are, and it's going to be tougher to get some grip on the end of the log there.
Right, and they are not allowed to touch that blue line. They cannot cross, they cannot cross the center line. That's also a DQ. Kenji's in it now. Okay, he's bringing confidence, believability, and look at his feet moving a lot faster.
And he's going a lot more towards the center there. And Brian Bartow just outruns Kenji Boyko for the championship here in Campbell River in the log burling competition. So tell me about your advantage over him, other than strength and experience, or is it just strength and experience?
I mean, it's a little experience and strength, but a bucking match, I mean, I outweigh him quite a bit, so I can kind of dictate where the log goes if I want to anyways.
Kenji, just tell me about when you started log rolling, who's been teaching you, and when did you start, and how long have you been doing it?
All right, I think I was 10 years old, and my dad has been my coach ever since. He's been the Canadian Championship lots of times, and he's been teaching me this through all this way.
So tell me about the experience of rolling a guy like Brian Bartow. He's bigger, he's older, he got more experience. You probably had some strategies going in, but that was tough.
Well, he's pretty much twice the weight as me, so I just gotta stay up there, keep my feet moving, try not to fall off.
Well, there it is, Brian Bartow, now living in Squamish, British Columbia, and a seasoned veteran in log burling, coming in the #1 seed, winning it here in Campbell River. Okay, Phil, just tell me about the Campbell River Salmon Festival in general and the Logger Sports Competition, which is now in its 50th year.
In its 50th year, and strangely, it's put together by a core group of about 8 people, about more than 50 on the day or on the weekend that we put it together. But it's the support that we get from the businesses and the people of the community. An amazing number of sponsorships and support throughout the entire business community putting on what we do. It's the only reason it's as successful as it is the support of the sponsors.
And lots of thanks to Phil Hicks, Jim Milburn, and the entire cast of volunteers here for putting on the Campbell River Salmon Festival now in its 50th year. We're heading into the 2-man relay, which is a couple of pair of competitors in 2 different chops. We're starting with the underhand chop and moving over to the standing block chop. Both guys in each team are going to be doing a little bit of both.
This isn't fair, Bill, I gotta say, because that guy right there, Mitch Hewitt, pound for pound the best chopper in the world. And this is 15 inches of western white pine. I say Western because it's a lot harder than the East Coast white pine I'm used to. Now, there's no minimum or maximum amounts of hits one competitor has to put through. That's Mitch Hewitt right there. That's accuracy, and he's going to do the job for Carl Bischoff.
And Carl Bischoff is actually Mitch Hewitt's father-in-law in this game here, working together, taking on Dave McLeod and Rod Cumberland. Rod Cumberland still working on the first half of the underhand chop, yet to pass the torch over to Dave McLeod.
Mitch Hewitt put a huge, beautiful, accurate front in for Carl Bischoff. Carl Bischoff is now in the back. Look at Mitch Hewitt just dying to get into that standing block. He's already in his stance. He loves the big chops. And here goes Mitch Hewitt. I labeled him Mitchell the Missile Hewitt. I think somebody stole that line from me. But because when he takes off, he is like a missile has been launched.
And the Maritimers, one from New Brunswick, one from Nova Scotia, still finishing off the underhand chop. There it is, Cumberland now taking over in a standing block chop. Mitch Hewitt halfway through the standing block.
Well, you could say he's halfway through. He's putting another 3 down, another 3 up to go, just farther than halfway. I call these a mullet cut, putting business in the front and party in the back, because there comes Carl Bischoff to take it off.
And the team of Cumberland and McLeod still working the front face with their standing block chop. Carl Bischoff is trying to put the finishing touches on the Mitchell Hewitt and Carl Bischoff team, driving things down. And there it is, coming off at 123.9. They take the lead in a 2-man relay here in Campbell River. Tell me about the pattern you do on the front side of your underhand. You go 2 on each side, 2 on each side. When and why do you transition to 3?
Just when the cut gets a bit wider, and I just want to don't leave any corners, so I cover them all. And I knew I could get a lot of penetration if I 3'd it and just get rid of the wood.
And can you just give me a comment on how Mitch thinks Mitch set things up for you on the standing block chop? He did a good job and put some good drivers in there for you to finish things off.
Oh, it's always great to job with Mitch. But it's a big piece of wood. You just got to make sure you keep the axe moving and make things happen.
Well, the time to beat is 123.92 as we head into the final heat of this 2-man relay. This next heat featuring Brian Bartow, Jason Lenz, Nick Hall, and Nick Russell, a couple of Canadians. Clearly the favorites here are going to be Lenz and Bartow.
Now, when Jason Lenz told me he was coming to the West Coast, to Campbell River, I said, why are you going that far? He looked at me, he goes, Dave, 2-man butcher block relay. He loves cutting these big logs, and he trains with his father, Mel Lenz.
And they got some big prize money here in Campbell River. $45,000 in prize money available, and they're looking to take some of it right here. Mr. Versatile, Brian Bartow, getting things started.
Brian Bartow, log roller, speed climber. Nobody told him he wasn't a wood chopper, killing the underhand chops lately. Whoa, was that a fast front.
And the underhand chop there, Nick Hall, transplanted Ontario guy, now living out in British Columbia, a little bit sloppy in that first half of the underhand chop. Jason Lenz, look at him power through that underhand chop.
Jason Lenz has this technique of pulling the axe in, driving the heel, and then slicing the toe around. Excellent technique. Now let's see if Brian Bartow's standing block is as accurate as his underhand. I don't think it is. So he's going to have to think, is Brian Bartow going to bail out of this front early and let Jason Lenz take over?
Team Canada well behind here, now into the standing block chop as Jason Lenz takes over in the backside of the standing block chop, really hitting the wood hard.
Yeah, this is when Jason Lenz is going to bring it home. Are they going to catch that Hewitt-Bischoff team? That's the question. That was big front, but only at 103. And Lenz is possibly driving already. He is driving.
123.92, the time to beat to take this thing in a 2-man relay. He's driving a little bit too early, chips out one more time, and there it is. The team of Jason Lenz and Brian Bartow win the 2-man relay at 113.9. Brian set you up nicely on the front side there with only 10 strokes left on the that you had to take for the underhand chop. Just tell me about that.
Yeah, he got a good front, put me in good position for the back. I actually had a miss hit there, so it should have been one less hit.
And both times you set up Jason for the finishing blows. You had 14 in the front, but he had a hard time driving things off in the back. He had to chip out one more time.
Yeah, I wasn't sure how much I should do on the front, but I knew he's a stronger standing chopper, so I should just let him go for it.
Well, a little bit of extra cash there for Jason Lenz and Brian Bartow, traveling all the way out to Campbell River, winning the 2-man relay with a time of 113.99.
Closed captioning is brought to you by 1867 Confederation Log and Timber Frame, Canada's leader in log and timber frame homes since 1979. This is Living.
Well, a trip out to Campbell River, British Columbia really isn't complete unless you go visit Elk Falls Provincial Park, a spectacular waterfall, which is actually a tributary that feeds right into the Campbell River. Last couple of years, they took some time and money to build a beautiful brand new suspension bridge, giving you a spectacular view of Elk Falls. We're now going to be showing you the top 2 heats in the Echo stock saw, where competitors are using identically tuned Echo Series 600 saws. This first heat, Aaron Lavoie taking on Allison Briscoe.
Boy, Allison Briscoe making her way in the scene right now, especially with her single bucket. You're going to see more of that later. Let's see, though, the quick entrance into the wood. Aaron Lavoie in first. Oh, but no, she went wide. She had to come back. Only 1.5 inch disc is what you're allowed, and it looks like Allison will take the heat.
She wins it with a 9.57, but there were some difficulties with Aaron, and the judge can have a closer look at that. So I know you don't want to relive any negative stuff, but just explain to me what happened in that DQ.
Dang it, it was a DQ. You can't win them all. I just came up quick and I got a little excited. I hit the wood and then I knew it was too much, and then I came up and then I made my good cookie, but unfortunately the whole wood that I cut was over 1.5 inches, so I was cut out.
Yeah, so it was that initial touching of the saw to the wood that cost you.
That's what did it, yep.
Now, Bill, I can tell you from years of experience, being slow and careful in the stock saw gets you nowhere. You have to attack it, but you have to attack it with confidence.
Well, this next heat is the final heat. Deanna Pontini taking on Danielle Koch, and Danielle's quick to the wood. Deanna really slow to the wood.
Danielle is so smooth. Look at the wood chips. You can hear the even RPMs of the saw, and that's the technique that's earned her a spot on the Canadian national team.
And she wins it with a 9.51, just edging out Allison. Stock saw is one of those events that all the saws are the same. It's all up to the operator. Tell me how difficult it is to win a stock saw event.
It's very difficult to win a stock saw event. Usually, first to 8th can be tenths of seconds if everybody's having a really good run. Echo saws are really easy to run. You can't put a lot of pressure on them. So when the saw bites into the wood, it's all listening and just feeling. You don't want to weight the saw too much. And if you don't do that, you'll have a smooth run.
Well, Danielle was bang on with that comment. Look at that, half a second separating the top 3 competitors. And Danielle just edging out Allison by 6/100ths of a second in the Echo stock saw.
Power on and on. Echo.
I'm going to talk about gas to oil mixtures for your Echo machine to make sure that it's running at peak performance at all times. Echo products require a 50-to-1 ratio, which we strongly recommend a high-octane fuel with either our Echo Power Blend or our Red Armor Premium Oil. Our Premium Red Armor Oil promotes longer engine life by cleaning carbon within the engine. Today I have my 5-liter jerry can. We make it very easy to mix with our 100 milliliter Premium Red Armor Oil. Once you have your jerry can clearly labeled, you're good to go.
Well, we're back here in Campbell River at the Campbell River Salmon Festival and the 50th annual Logger Sports Competition. We're heading into the obstacle pole buck. We're going to be showing you the top 3 heats. This first heat, Mitch Hewitt taking on Brian Bartow.
Mitch Hewitt, originally born in Australia. What's he doing tangling against the Canadians, especially in this event? Here's Brian Bartow, grew up as a track star, and he's going to be giving Mitch Hewitt a run for his money.
Well, now a logger in British Columbia makes Mitch Hewitt very good at this event. Oh, and he breaks the disc off there. He's going to cause a few problems with the judge there. It's going to be very close to the finish. Brian Bartow wins the heat with a 14.54, but the judge is going to have a closer look at Mitch's cut. Roger, Mitch just took a DQ on that. Just tell me the ruling on the cut you have in your hand.
Part of the skills for the obstacle pole is to make a cut from both sides and line them up for accuracy. And unfortunately, Mitch, when he made his cut, he left part of the wood behind and didn't line them up properly. So without a complete disc, it turns out to be a disqualification.
Show me how you identify exactly what happened with this disc.
The piece that we see here is not a complete round, and we can't see it now, but the other piece that was left hanging on the end of the log would have filled in that gap. So unfortunately for Mitch, that's not good enough for today.
Thanks, Roger.
Thank you.
Well, we're heading into heat number 2 in the obstacle pole buck. Dave McLeod taking on Nick Russell. Time to beat 14.54. And some of the techniques here, Dave McLeod has mastered over the years.
Kelly, he's mastered the art of not being disqualified. You can't start the saw until you're past the top line. You cannot mount the log above the first yellow line. There it is. His foot is below that yellow line. The saw's in front of him, keeping him balanced. And there's Nick Russell right there with him, though. And Dave McLeod, look at that. He's halfway down the pole, and his disc is still in the air.
And he sprints down the log there. It clocks in with a 14.92, a half a second behind our leader, Brian Bartow. Hey, Dave, you could probably do that blindfolded. You've done it so many times over the years.
Yeah, pretty much. It's been a bit of a struggle to do any training this year. It's just one of those years where it's been pretty busy, and I'm happy I got a complete cut. So
Well, we're heading into the final heat of the obstacle pole buck. Right now, we got two guys under 15 seconds. Trevor Schofield, living in Nova Scotia, taking on Carl Bischoff. Carl Bischoff has been doing this since the 80s.
Oh, I first ran into Carl at the PNE in Vancouver back in the early 90s, and he was just a bullet going up these logs. No mistakes, always leaning forward. I was terrified watching him, and look at, he has not missed a beat.
Well, veteran competitor Carl Bischoff, a little bit longer in the tooth, battling Trevor Schofield, probably 20 years younger than him. It's going to be really close at the finish here. Oh, and it's too close to call. Looks like Trevor just edged out Carl in the obstacle pole. You made a bit of a double cut there. First of all, it was a very close race. But up top there on your back cut, it was maybe a quarter of a second. The results are still not in. Just tell me about competing with all the young guns.
Oh, it's great. It's one of my favorite. I mean, this is my 40th year in the competition, and you know, back in the 80s, 83 was my big year. I averaged 12.67 on 10 consecutive runs. So, I mean, it's never been done since, but whatever. But, you know, if I'm in the 14s or 15s, I'm still having fun, and it's a great year. And
I mean, so much is about experience and keeping your cool. It's knowing how to do it.
oh, absolutely, absolutely. You got to just focus and basically talk yourself through the whole race. And there's little tricks I can show the boys, but they're going to have to figure them out themselves.
Thanks, Carl. Thanks, Carl.
All right, thanks.
Well, Carl's not finishing under the 15-second mark, in a great field of competitors. We did have two guys finish under 15 seconds. Brian Bartow just edging out Dave McLeod in the obstacle pole.
And here's your crown pivotal point. Mitch Hewitt taking a DQ in the obstacle pole. Boy, I've got to give him credit, though. He's so much faster than I thought. Right there with Brian Bartow, but those points hurt him in the overall.
And Brian Bartow is leading the way with 400 points, a clear 250 points ahead of Jason Lenz. Brian Bartow is versatile. He can chop wood, saw, and do the obstacle pole.
All right, Lumberjack of the day. Let's give it to Kenji Boyko. He put his dad in the water. He put his aunt in the drink. And he got a fall on Brian Bartow, and he is bringing believability.
And special thanks go out to all the volunteers and sponsors who get involved with the Campbell River Salmon Festival. Come back again next week when it'll be time for Lumberjacks.
Lumberjacks is sponsored by Echo, only professional grade with 5-year warranty. Crown, protect, maintain, save. Dickies, quality workwear since 1922. Yamaha, rev your heart.
One of the most important things at any lumberjack show is, of course, the wood. Typically, when you cut a block of wood, things look pretty ugly. You've got lots of knots, bark, imperfections on the wood. We want it to look like this, nice and smooth, great for the axes, no imperfections on it, and all the same size. In order to do that, we need a wood lathe. Most wood lathes in North America are all built by some guy with a lot of brains and lots of welding material. So, has an engine, all kinds of hydraulics to do your heavy lifting. You take your ugly block, set it into your lathe where it belongs. What you're left with is beautiful, symmetrical wood, all the same dimension.